Let's start with the prayer.
Om
Vande Saraswati Namastutyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyanam Parishri Siddhir Bhavati Sada Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sah Veerang Om Shanti.
Vasudevendra
Nam Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
All right. So we had a 1 week gap in between. 2 weeks actually. So we'll have a quick revision and then we'll move on. So we were doing Karana Shariram, the causal body. Okay, so we'll come back to the verse. We have to discuss the words anyway. So we'll come back to this. We'll just quickly revise what is Karana Shariram. So I think by now you all must have at least some idea from the last class. We discussed in great detail. So we discussed Karana Shariram in the 4 parts. And the first part we discussed was the function, right? And under function, we discussed about the law of conservation of mass and energy, which states that nothing can be created and nothing can be destroyed. So whatever is happening, it is only transformation from one form to another form. So keeping this in mind, now when we think about the Sthula and Sukshma Shariram, the question comes then, what is death, right? What exactly happens at death? So we know about the physical body. We know that the physical body resolves into the 5 elements, right? It transforms into one of the or some of the 5 elements and it is distributed. So we are already aware of this about the physical body. Now, what about the Sukshma Shariram, the subtle body, the main entity, what we call as Jiva, that is Sukshma Shariram. So what happens to that? That resolves into Karana Shariram. Okay, so Karana Shariram is the potential for the other 2 bodies. It is the seed form of the other 2 bodies. So it acts as the dissolution ground for the other 2 bodies, and it is the source of creation of the other 2 bodies, right? So when this creation is in the unmanifest state, we call it avyakta, and when it is manifest, we call it vyakta. Now, why I bring in both creation and both the individual Sukshma Shariram and talk about them at the same time is because in this avyakta state, this Karana Shariram is not different from the rest of the creation. It is in an undifferentiated state. So in the undifferentiated state, there is no my Karanam, your Karanam, somebody else's Karanam. They are all in an undifferentiated state. And so it is as good as treating it as one entity. Okay, so at the universal level or at the individual level, they are treated as one entity. And interestingly, this is why Shankaracharya in his Viveka Chudamani does not talk about Karana Shariram at all. He finishes Sthula Shariram, he finishes Sukshma Shariram, and directly he starts talking about Maya. Okay, so usually Maya represents, when we talk about Maya, it is about the whole creation. That is the potential of the whole creation, the seed form of Jagat, of the universe. So whenever we say Maya, it is generally understood that this is at a macro level, at the universal level. So why doesn't he talk about Karanam at the individual level? Because in that Avyakta state, it cannot be differentiated. That universal causality and this individual causality cannot be differentiated. And so they are as good as one and the same thing. And that is why he does not talk about Karanam at all. He directly starts talking about Maya. Okay. So this Sukshma Shariram, upon death, resolves into Karanam. And in fact, the whole world finally at Pralayam resolves into this Karanam, into this Avyakta state. So that is what is called as Pralayam. Pralayam is the resolution from the manifest into the unmanifest. And what we call Srishti, creation, is the re-emergence from the unmanifest back into manifest. And this is a cyclical thing that keeps happening eternally. There is no beginning, there is no end to this. It goes on happening, that it changes from manifest to unmanifest back to manifest. Right? And this is what Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita. Avyaktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyakta nidananyeva tatra ka paridevana. Right? It's the same thing. He says there was unmanifest, then there was manifest, then again there will be unmanifest, and so on. It's a cyclical thing. Okay, so what is the function of Karana Shariram? It is the potential of the other two bodies. It acts as the cause of the other two bodies. Cause means the dissolution ground as well as the source of the creation in the next cycle of when it comes back to manifest.
Medaji, could you please repeat once again, why does Shankaracharya doesn't talk about Karna Shariram?
Because when it is in the Avyakta state, the unmanifest state, it is like the seed of a tree. Within the seed of the tree, can you differentiate that this is branch, this is leaf, this is the trunk of the tree, this is the root of the tree? No, right?
No.
You cannot make out any difference.
Yes.
So it is treated as one thing. When the tree is there, you can compare two leaves and say, okay, this leaf is like this and this leaf is like this. But in the seed, what comparison can you do?
Yeah, there's nothing.
Yes, that is why. That is why Shankaracharya does not talk about Karana Shariram at all. The individuality of the Karana Shariram is only valid in the Vyakta state. Okay, otherwise it remains in the undifferentiated state, and therefore there is nothing to compare, nothing to talk about. And it is treated as one entity.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, the second point was the condition, which we just discussed, the undifferentiated state. Right? There is no way to tell apart the differences in this Karana Shariram. Third, the nature is one of total ignorance. Ignorance of everything, including ignorance of the real nature, including the question of who am I? What am I really? That also there is total ignorance. And of course, there is ignorance about everything. Why is there ignorance? Because in the undifferentiated state, there is no second thing that can be known. And also, more importantly, there is no way for you to know. There is no equipment with which you can know. Whenever you know something, what is the main equipment that you use to know that thing?
Upadhi.
The Sthul Sharir. Sorry, the Sukshma Sharir
Buddhi.
and the Sthul Sharir.
Suppose I say, see that tree. What do you use to see the tree?
Yeah, Indriyas.
We use our sense
Eyes,
organs.
right?
Our sense organs.
Now, in this undifferentiated state, is there differentiated sense organs?
No.
No. Is there a differentiated mind?
No.
No. Okay, so to help you understand better, think of your sleep state. In the sleep state, are your sense organs active?
No.
No. Is the mind active?
Indeed. No.
No, mind is not active. And therefore, in sleep, is knowledge possible?
No.
No.
Why? Because all your sense organs, your mind, those are the main equipment, right? All of this equipment is resolved into an undifferentiated state in deep sleep. And so it is not possible to know anything. Anything can be happening around you, but you will not know because you don't have the equipment with which to know. Okay, and that is why sleep is also state of total ignorance. Karana Shariram is state of total ignorance. Okay, and what we call sleep is anyway the closest experience that you can have of Karana Shariram. It is like your own mini pralayam, okay, your private pralayam. So this sleep is a state of total ignorance, and that is the experience of Karana Shariram. Okay, and the fourth and final point, the cause of Karana Shariram, it is the beginningless, causeless cause. Right? There is no further cause to this. This itself is the ultimate cause. And hence the name Karana Shariram. Karana means cause. Okay. So now we will look at the Sanskrit words that describe this Karana Shariram. We'll read this once. Karana Shariram Kim.
कारणशरीरं
शरीरं किम्
Anirvachya.
अनिर्वाच्य
Anadya Vidyarupam.
अनादविद्यारूपं
Shariradvayasya.
शरीरद्वयस्य
Karanamatram.
कारणमात्रम्
Satswarupajnanam.
सत्स्वरूपज्ञानं
Nirvikalpakarupam.
निर्विकल्परूपं
Yadasti tat Karana Shariram.
यदस्ति तत्कारणशरीरं
Okay. So we'll see the meaning now. And remember that, especially in this particular line, every word is very important, very technical. Okay. So the student has asked the question, what is Karana Shariram? Karana Shariram, Kim means what is Karana Shariram? And the teacher has given the explanation, and we'll look at it word by word, breaking it up. So the first word breaks into 4 words. Okay. Anirvachya, Anadi, Avidya, Rupam. Okay. Anirvachya, Anadi, Avidya, Rupam. We'll take up the first word, Anirvachya. The word Anirvachya means that which is not categorizable in any way, that which is not categorically definable. Okay, now if you open a dictionary, the word Anirvachya, you will find the meaning as inexplicable, that which cannot be explained. But Swami Dayananda does not like that translation at all. Why? Because if something is inexplicable, if something cannot be explained, then why are we bothering to explain it? It cannot be explained, right? It is meaningless to try and explain something that cannot be explained. So that is not the correct way to take Anirvachya. The correct way is that which cannot be categorically defined. Okay, this Anirvachya is actually a technical word, which another meaning is mithya. Anirvachya is another word for mithya. Okay, and why the author has used Anirvachya is probably to indicate that this Karana Shariram is also mithya. Okay, so that we don't confuse and think that this Karana Shariram might be Atma. The author is being very clear that this Karana Shariram is also very much Anatma, very much Mithya, through the use of the word Anirvachya, that which is categorically inexplicable or categorically not definable. So what does that mean? Not categorically definable. So I will give you an example. I will ask you a question and you tell me the answer. Are dreams real? Okay, this is the question. Are dreams real?
To the dreamer,
They are neither real nor unreal.
Real while
In
dreaming.
between.
They are real for the dreamer.
Okay, all of you are advanced students. Real for the dreamer, real while dreaming. Okay.
Robinson told us.
Suppose I say yes, the dream, or okay, rather let's say no, the dream is not real. What is the argument against that statement? If I say no, the dream is not real, what will you counter that with?
But it appears to be real to the one
It
who
is illusory.
If you
Then the
say-
dreamer is also
When you
not
wake
real.
up, when you wake up and if you had a bad dream, it affects you.
Yes, it affects you, not just when you wake up, but in the dream itself, you experience it, right? It is an
Yeah.
experience of the dream. There is an effect that it has on you. There's some impact that you feel from the dream, right? If something is not real, how can you experience it? How can it have an effect, right? If the dream is not real, you should not be able to experience. So now suppose I say, okay, the dream is real. Then
No,
then
dream
what's
is
the
not
argument?
real.
Can we say dream is real?
No,
Why?
because when we wake up, there is nothing to see or
Yes, because when you wake up, where is the dream? If the dream is real, where is it now? Okay, so follow this argument, okay, that if the dream is not real, how did it have an effect on you? How did you experience it? If the dream is real, where is it now? Why isn't it affecting you still? So the dream is real only as long as you are dreaming, right? Only as long as you are in the dream is real. And so you cannot categorically say that the dream is real, nor can you categorically say that the dream is not real, right? Both statements are invalid. Both statements are inadequate. Both statements are logically inconsistent. And so what do we do with a thing that is like this, that you cannot put in this box also, you cannot put it in this box also, right? You cannot say dream is real, you cannot say dream is not real. What do you do with such a thing? And so the special category for such a thing is mithya. Okay, mithya. Final, that which can be falsified upon correct knowledge. Mithya is that which can be falsified upon correct knowledge. So in the dream, when you're in the dream feels real. But when you wake up, you know that that was just a dream. That same logic applies to this whole world that we see around us. This whole Jagat is as real as the dream. Right now, when you're in the world, it feels very real. But with correct knowledge, the world itself is falsified. Okay, and therefore this Jagat, this whole creation, everything that you see, including your own body and mind, is mithya, is anirvachaniya, cannot be categorically called real, cannot be categorically called unreal. And not just real and unreal, any box you try to put it into, later we will see, but any category you try to make, it fails. Nothing works, nothing is adequate. Nothing, you cannot logically break it and say this is this and this is that. So such a thing that does not go into this box, this category or this category, that thing is called anirvachaniya. Okay, and that this karana shariram is anirvachaniya.
The reason that we are talking about the dream is for us to understand that this life that we consider very much real is also just like a dream.
Yes, the dream is the example to help you understand that this world is also mithya. Just as the dream is mithya, this world, this life is also mithya. Yes, Anjali? Anjali, you have raised your hand.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to mute. I started speaking, unmute. I was saying that why do we say Anirvachya only for Karana Shariram then? Like it's applied to both Sthula and Sukshma Shariram also, right?
It applies to everything, yes. But that's why I said Anirvachya is a technical word. It is another word for mithya, another word for maya. And when you say maya, you're talking about the whole creation, vyakta, avyakta. It depends on the context. So here the author wants to be very clear about this karana shariram, and he wants to tell that this is not atma, this is also a mithya thing. This is very much maya, he wants to say, and that is why he has used the word anirvachya.
Okay, but even the Sthula and Sukshma are Anirvachya only.
Naturally, they come out of karanam, right?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, VK. Is this Vinita Kaushik by any chance?
Yeah. Oh, Medaji. Maybe because this is the seed form and it's undifferentiated. So we use the word Anirvachya. And Sukshma and Sthula Shariram are relatively differentiated. Could that be one of the reasons?
Yes, they are differentiated. That part is correct. But the Anirvachya statement, so the meaning I have given you is actually a more advanced meaning. We don't usually study this in Tattva Bodha, but since some of you are senior students, so the Anirvachya statement, the categorically indefinable part, applies to the whole creation, including Sthula and Sukshma. Okay.
Thank you.
So this is Anirvachya, that which cannot be categorically defined in any way. Yes, June.
Omeda-ji. So we were saying that when the Karanam Shariram is unmanifested in the Avyaktam state, it's completely like undifferentiable from the Maya and the whole universe unmanifested state, the individual and the macro level. So if we are saying that when it's unmanifested, does it mean that the Karanam Shariram can manifest itself? Or the manifestation of the Karanam Shariram is the Sthula and the Sukshma Shariram?
Manifestation is the Sukshma and the Sthula.
Oh, so the Karanam Shariram will always be unmanifested?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Oh, Medhaji.
Yeah.
But the essence would be that the Karan Sharir by itself cannot manifest the Sthul and the Sukshma Sharir. That would also be because it's all under Maya. So that is, it is also Jad, right? So that was the clarity that I required from this. Karan Sharir will also come under Jada only then.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Nothing is Chaitanyam except Atma. Okay.
Right.
Yes, Anjali.
Yeah, just one small doubt that even the Sharir Trayam we can say Anirvachya.
Shariratrayam is?
Anirvachya.
Yes. Anything that is Anatma comes under the category of Anirvachya.
So,
Yes.
Miraji, how the manifestation happens?
How it happens, we don't have the answer.
Okay.
Yes, Meera ji.
Yeah, you said that Karana Shariram of all the jivas or living beings is the same, undifferentiated, right?
Yes.
So, what decides that Karana Shariram will manifest as a human being or an animal or a plant? What is it that decides that?
Karma.
Karma.
Yes. The prarabdha of that jiva will decide when
Okay.
and in what manner it will become manifest.
But the Karana Shariram of everybody is same.
It is not same, it is undifferentiated. That's why I said
Okay.
as good as one entity, not one
Okay.
entity.
Yeah, I took it as one entity. That's right. Okay, thank you.
Yes, June.
Melaji, another question arises, and is that when we are here as jivas, the whole Karanam Shariram is manifested, or part of our Karanam Shariram keeps in the unmanifested state?
See, when you're talking about Maya, that is at the universal level, there is a portion that will always be avyakta. Right? Because then if you ask the question, where are all the new jivas coming from? Every time somebody is born, a new jiva has come, right? So where is all this coming from? So a portion is always, you can say, unmanifest.
Okay, thank you.
But for you, when you are in Sukshma, there is no partition there, okay? When you are Sukshma, you are fully manifest here. That is when you have got a body, you are manifest
We
here.
are fully manifested, but we are connected. Is 100% manifested, or there is a small part connected to our Karanam Shariram? Like, is when we study RC and OC, there are three RCs for the Jiva that makes the Jiva. So if the Karanam Shariram RC part is fully manifested, it means that it doesn't exist in somehow. Like the universal Karanam Shariram exists, but the Jiva Karanam Shariram has been 100% manifested as a Stula and Sukshma Shariram.
Yes, but also the universe is also manifest, right?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot come alone, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
come with the whole creation. Right? Yes.
Medhaji, is it only at Pralayam that the Sukshma Sharira dissolves into Karana Sharira and not at the time when the physical body drops?
So actually at the time of physical body dropping, we are, unless Shastra tells us these answers, we don't know, right? There's no other way to know these things. So for some of these, there is no answer. Okay, so just for our understanding sake, we take that it goes back to Karanam. It's just a way of putting it. But ultimately, what is the final bottom line of all of this?
There is only one
It's the
Atma.
potential
There
form.
is-
It is all jada. So it is all mithya anyway. So how does it matter? You only have to realize what Atma is.
Exactly. That is the bottom line of all of this. So all of this we can try and understand, struggle to understand, and to an extent we may even understand. But how does it matter? What is the final understanding that you need to have? That all this is anatma, therefore it doesn't matter. And what does matter? That I am Atma. So that clarity is what we are aiming for with all of this. So that is why even in the Shastras, we will not find too much detailed analysis on, what exactly happens, how it came, how it goes, what happens to the jiva after death. And, you will not find too much analysis on all this because it is not relevant. So that should always be there in the background of your mind. To some extent, yes, the questions are entertained and answered, but beyond one point, now we are just getting lost in anatma, and that does not help anybody, right?
Right. Thank you.
Okay. So all the, more, what do you say, complicated questions about Karana Shariram, we may know the answer, we may not know the answer, but the thing that you have to remind yourself is that this is not relevant. What you need to know is what is Karana Shariram, and then understand that you are not this Karana Shariram also. That's the main thing. Okay, so all of this discussion on all these anatma topics is finally to come to the conclusion that I am not this thing. So to that extent, we understand, and then we leave it. Okay, now coming to the second two words, Anadi, Avidya. Anadi means beginningless, without any beginning. And Avidya means ignorance. So Anadi Avidya means beginningless ignorance. The ignorance that has no beginning at all, meaning it has always been there. So there is a little argument given by Swami Dayananda, a little involved, a little tricky, but very interesting argument that he gives. Why this avidya is anadi? Why this ignorance is beginningless? Suppose you say that this avidya begins. That means it was not there before, right? If the ignorance begins, it was not there before. If it was not there before, how can it begin? If it wasn't there before, how can ignorance begin? Okay, so we'll go deeper. We'll say, suppose that this ignorance begins. Then the question is, what was there before? Right? If it begins, it was not there before. That means what was there before? If not avidya. Like if you have light and darkness, if light is not there, that means what is there? Darkness is there. Because they cannot coexist. Light and darkness are mutually exclusive. They cannot coexist together, right? So if light is not there, that means what? Darkness is there. If darkness is not there, that means what? Light is there. In the same way, vidya and avidya, knowledge and ignorance are mutually exclusive. They also cannot coexist. So it means if avidya is not there, if avidya is not, if it begins, it was not there before. That means what was there? Was vidya. That is knowledge. If knowledge was there before, how can ignorance begin? Are you following? If knowledge was there before,
yes,
and how did ignorance begin? Right? Because if you know, how can you unknow? If you know, how
But ma'am, in Bhagavatam, it is said that when Brahma first created the Srushti, he created avidya.
no, that is just manifestation, probably.
Yes.
So
But
you,
in the Hindu mandalas of yugas, then there's Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, and Kalyug. But in Satyug, there is all Vidya. People are, they are in the know, and then gradually they become, it's covered.
see, we are not talking about the simple ignorance. I am talking about the very nature of Karana Shariram, which is Mula Vidya, the very fundamental ignorance which is the cause of this samsara. Okay, when you talk about Satyuga, Treta Yuga, you are talking about Srishti, the Vyakta state. What about the Avyakta state? Okay, so whenever you hear these stories, you have to take them in context and take the correct interpretation, the correct extraction from that story. Otherwise, it can lead to confusion. Okay, so here we are talking purely about logic. If Karanam, they are saying Karanam is Anadi Avidya, beginningless ignorance. And we are saying that it is supported by logic because if the ignorance begins, that means it was not there before. That means what was there before? Knowledge is there before, right? If knowledge is there before, how can ignorance begin? And that is why avidya is anadi. It is beginningless ignorance.
So we can say, Medhaji, we can say that knowledge can come after ignorance, but ignorance cannot come after knowledge.
Yes. Once the ignorance is removed, it is removed. That is why we say moksha is a permanent thing, right? There's no more coming back to samsara after moksha.
Om Medhaji, can we also say therefore that ignorance is also mithya?
Yes.
It is also non-existent?
It is not non-existent.
Yes, I get that real and unreal concept, yes. So ignorance is also mithya. What is there is actually only knowledge.
What is there is only Brahman.
So that is knowledge only, right? If we take it from the knowledge, the consciousness principle, no.
Brahman is Brahman. Brahman is not knowledge. Brahman is consciousness. Consciousness supports knowledge. Consciousness cannot be said to be knowledge. Because you have consciousness, you can know.
Right, I get that distinction. Thank you.
Yes, June.
Medhaji, so if Brahman is everything, then Brahman is knowledge. And where there is knowledge, there cannot be avidya. I still don't get the point how the ignorance, why is beginningless, but it exists, but Brahman is knowledge. So it's, logically, is still not in my brain.
You know, on just a side note, this is why they say that jnanis, when the knowledge is fully assimilated, apparently they laugh and they think, oh, this is so silly. It was right here all along. What did I go searching for so much? What was the meaning of all of this? So much running around that I did so much. It was right here all along. So being Brahman is, self-evident. That you exist is self-evident. That you are conscious is self-evident. But there is a confusion, and I think I am the body, I think I am this, I think I'm that, I think I have so many problems in life, I think, all these different things. That is because of ignorance. I know that I exist, but I don't know what I am. And that is the problem. It is not complete ignorance also. In sleep, there is complete ignorance. In waking state, there is partial ignorance. I know I am, but I don't know what I am. Nobody questions their self-existence, right? Nobody ever gets the question, do I exist? The only question is, yeah, I'm here, but what am I? Right? So, Brahman supports all this. Brahman is consciousness. But because of the Maya, or because of this nature of Karanam, nature of Maya, there is a fundamental ignorance of who I am. Okay, and this is what has to be dispelled. And that is why Vedanta says, Jnanat eva kaivalyam. Knowledge is the only means to moksha. Why? Because the problem of samsara is a problem of ignorance, is a problem of not knowing. The only solution to ignorance is knowledge. Okay, and finally, in a very ultimate Upanishad level analysis, you will find that even knowledge is mithya. Okay, but I don't want to confuse you now. So even knowledge, even ignorance, even moksha, even samsara, all of this is also mithya. There is only one thing, and that is Brahman, and that you are. Okay. All right, let's come back to the line now. So, Anirvachya, Anadi Avidya, it is beginningless state of ignorance. So, all this also we saw. Anadi is the beginningless, causeless cause. Avidya, we said, state of total ignorance. Right? In all those 4 points, all this was already covered. Then, Sharira Dvayasya Karana Matram. So, this word, Dvayasya, means two. Sharira Dvayasya means two bodies. Which two bodies? The other two bodies, that is Thula and Sukshma. So for these two bodies, the other two bodies, what is it? It is Karana Matram. It acts as the cause of the other two bodies. So what this line says is that the only function of Karana Shariram is to be the cause for the other two bodies. That is all. That is the cause. That is the function, to be the cause for other two bodies. Then, Sat Swarupa Ajnanam. It is of the nature of ignorance of the real nature. Sat Swarupa. Sat Swarupa means real nature, and Ajnanam means ignorance. So, ignorance of my real nature. Then, Nirvikalpaka Rupam. Nirvikalpaka means undifferentiated. It is in the form of undifferentiated. So this also we have already discussed. Yad asti tat karana shariram. That which is there in this way, yad asti, that is called as karana shariram. So karana shariram, we can say all of these are the features which we saw in those 4 points, right? The function, cause, condition, and nature. So all of that is covered in these words over here. Okay, so with this we have finished the topic of Karana Shariram.
Om Medhaji.
Yes.
Can you please explain again Sat Swarupa Jnanam, this word? I missed it.
Sat Swarupa Ajnanam is Sat Swarupa Ajnanam. Ajnanam means not knowing or ignorance of Sat Swarupa, of my real nature. So we saw that the Karana Shariram is in a state of total ignorance, right? We said blanket ignorance. Just like sleep. In sleep, there is total ignorance. So that is Karana Shariram. And when you say blanket ignorance, it also includes ignorance about my real nature.
Okay, thanks.
Miraji,
Yeah.
ma'am, just wanted to check, is soul present in current stage also?
Okay, first you tell me what is soul.
Yeah, Brahman.
Brahman is soul?
No, no.
You define soul and I will answer your question. Unfortunately, we use words that we don't know the meaning
He
of.
means an individual Jivatma. That's what he means. My Jivatma, will it be in the current Shariram? That's, I think, what he wants to know.
Is that what is your definition of soul?
No, so Jivatma, I understand that Jivatma is up to the subtle body. And after subtle body, Jivatma doesn't remain anymore. I wanted to understand that this consciousness or Brahman or soul, which is the energy, so does it remains in Karan Shri also?
You are using a lot of words. You use soul, you used energy, you used consciousness, you used Brahman, and all of those are different things. So tell me which one you want.
So with the soul, I wanted to understand consciousness, energy.
They are all different things. Which one?
Okay.
See, the problem is that, especially in English, we use words that we don't have clear-cut definitions or clear-cut meanings of. If by soul you mean the individual, then in Sanskrit, we call that as Jivatma. And specifically, when you do a drill down analysis, it reduces to Sukshma Shariram. Okay, so if you're asking about Sukshma Shariram and Karana Shariram, then yes, the relationship is of cause and effect, like the seed and the tree. Okay, if you are talking about consciousness, the consciousness is same as Brahman. Okay, what we call consciousness principle, it is nothing but Brahman, and that Brahman is nothing but Atma. All the three words are the same. Okay, consciousness, Brahman, Atma, we are referring to the same thing. If you are talking about energy, we call that as prana. That is something else entirely and very much anatma. Okay, now the word soul we don't use because it is a very vague word with no real meaning and no clear-cut definition. Okay, it is an English word that people use in any way they like. Okay, so when we use in particular context, it is better if you can start using the Sanskrit terminology because everything has very clear systematic meanings. Okay, now tell me which word you want to know.
Jivatma first.
What is the question about Jivatma?
So actually, what I wanted to understand, like we are saying that Karan Sarir is the cause where we have all the seeds of karma, okay, and but we are also saying that there's no individuality in Karan Sharira. So I'm just trying to correlate that if Karan Sharira is the cause of two other bodies, and Jivatma is not present, then how do we how the other bodies evolve from Karna Shaya? Just individual bodies evolve from the Karna Shaya because
The individuality of the Karana Shariram is only valid in the Vyakta state. Okay, and even the play of karma is also valid only in the Vyakta state. So that individual's karma is associated with that Karana Shariram and it is able to manifest, it is able to fructify in the Vyakta state. Otherwise, in the Avyakta state, it all exists just as potential.
Medhaji,
And
can
you
I?
think of it as kind of storage. It is just
It
there.
is like different seeds sprouting in different trees.
Yes, once it becomes manifest, then we are able to talk about the individuality of different jivas, different karmas, all of these things.
Medaji, for an individual upon awakening, when the witnessing factor within, as the Avastha state, Turiya state, for each one is different or it is common factor on the other side.
What is a common factor?
No, the Turiya state realized by each individual. So how is it is common?
Which part is common?
Turiya state, the witnessing factor.
See,
I realize Brahman. I realize Brahman upon enlightenment.
Yes.
So the realizing that side is same for everyone. It's individual.
Same means what?
Universally the same. That means there is no differentiation of obviously that side.
Yes.
So when I realize Brahman, another person realizes Brahman, we are looking at the same Brahman, or we become the same Brahman, or for the Brahmagyanis are in the same side, or as individuals are existing on the other side.
See, when you say I realize Brahman, there is no actually realizing Brahman. What you realize is that
You
I
are
am
Brahman.
Brahman.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, there's no, the moment you say I realize Brahman, that means there is you and there is something called
Individuality is gone.
And you realize that. There's this a fundamental wrong assumption in the statement.
Okay.
That I realize Brahman. There are two things. There is you and there is Brahman. And there itself, there is a basic flaw.
Flaw. Yeah.
When you say I am Brahman, then there is nothing else. When after claiming that I am Brahman, when you say I, who is the I?
Brahman itself.
Yes. And is there any second thing other than Brahman?
Yeah, it appears to be due to the Maya, some reflection is taking place. Thinking
Yes.
like that.
Yes. But is there any other thing, any second thing to Brahman?
No, part of it appearing as Daivam and part of it looking as the individual.
The individuality part is merely now a reflection. It is just almost not there. What is there is only Brahman, wherever you see, including when you say I. The I becomes a figurative usage. When you are talking about this body, mind, sense complex, after Brahmagnanam, it is a figurative usage. Okay, so yeah, you have to be clear when you say Brahmagnanam, after Brahmagnanam, for the Jnani, there is no second thing. There is nothing else. There is only Brahman, and that Brahman is everything, including what I previously thought was I.
Even while he's seen eating and functioning and living,
Yes.
apparently he's doing all that also.
Yes, but for him, it is all a figurative way of.
One side is universal, on the other side he seems to be individual also.
When you say other side, that other side, is it real or not real?
Other side is the only real.
That is the only thing. So, which means this side is what?
Yeah, apparent, yeah, right. Unreal.
Yes, it is only apparent. Okay, so there is no two sides. There is only one side.
Om Medhaji. So what essentially can also be said is that for the Jnani who is Brahman, who realizes he is Brahman, so whatever is being perceived as his or her physical body or actions is actually apparent to the other people who are perceiving, not to the Jnani himself, because he would be probably in that state of consciousness. For him, that is also not existent.
You are also in a state of consciousness, are you not?
Yes, so that is what I'm saying. So then there is no individuality over there. No? So we can't say that for him, he is eating or he is feeling.
That is why it is a figurative usage.
Right.
When you say, I am eating, you really mean it.
Yes, because we are not in that state.
It is not some special thing, okay? Don't think of moksha as some mystical, special experience. It is not. It is a very simple thing. It is simply that I know that I am not this body, and all of this that I see around me is very much mithya. And what I am is consciousness, which is existence, itself, which is
So
conscious.
essentially, we are all in state of obscured consciousness. And as we keep on going, once we reach, then we finally just reach that one state of consciousness. Otherwise, it's all obscured at different levels, is it? That is what ignorance would be. For some would be more conscious
What
of
is
what is
obscured
happening.
is not consciousness. What is obscured is knowledge.
I get the difference. Thank you.
Okay, so you are very much conscious right now. That is why we are able to have this conversation, right?
Yes, yes.
Do you have any question that do you have any doubt that you are conscious?
No.
No doubt. So right now also you very much experience being conscious. But
Yes.
what you don't know is that you are Brahman. And that is all that there is. Simply to know and assimilate that I am Brahman. That is all. For the Jnani also, he has the same consciousness that you are also experiencing right now. The only difference is he knows I am consciousness, I am Brahman.
Yes. Another question. Nirvikalp Rupam, you mentioned undifferentiated. Nirvikalp would be broken into, I think Vikalp would be dual. We take it as duality, Vikalp.
Vikalp means differentiation, differences.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go in order. Lalita ji.
Medha ji, this actually you said Karana Shariram is one, right? So now I don't know, am I understanding? The karmas of individuals is attached to the Karana Shariram, right?
Yes.
So when Karana Shariram is one, how does the karmas of individuals get differentiated?
It is all undifferentiated. It is not one.
Okay.
Okay, so if you think of the tree example, that is the best thing. You have two leaves and the two leaves have different designs on them. Have you seen two leaves? Have you ever seen two leaves with the same identical design?
No.
No, they have different designs. But in the seed of that tree, before the tree came, in the seed, can you make out the difference? Can you see two leaves with two different designs?
No.
No, but can you say it doesn't exist? It will come later, right?
Yes, yes.
The potential
So somewhere
exists in the seed. That is the point.
Okay. So the potential of each one is existing in the seed. That is.
Yes.
Because each one has a different karma. That blueprint of each one is existing in the seed form.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, we have next Lata Murthy.
Om Metaji. Yeah, I have a doubt. So once I come to know that I am the consciousness, will I be devoid of all the sufferings? The physical and the mental and whatever the sufferings that we go through as per our karmas, do we accept it or we become devoid of all this? Because in some texts I have read that Ramana Maharshi went through some surgeries without any anesthesia. Even he could not even know the physical suffering also, because he was he knew what he himself was a Brahman. Like all of us are Brahmans. So that was my question.
See, one thing is that Vedanta will not make your life problem free. Okay, so it is wrong to think that a Jnani has a problem free life. That's not true. There are so many examples of so many Jnanis who have had very troublesome lives. If you look at Sri Rama's life or Bhagwan Sri Krishna's life, would you call
Yes,
that
ma'am.
a trouble-free life?
No. That is what I was. When they take the individual form.
But the difference is in how they handle it.
Okay.
Were they crippled by that pain? Were they bothered by that troubling life? No. Right?
Okay.
Why?
And one,
because they know that all of this, including the pain, is mithya.
Okay.
When you accept the mithya status of the world stops bothering you. But you have to
Okay.
accept it fully for that.
Okay. 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 So that takes a lot of sadhana and lot of time.
It takes, yes, what the main thing that needs to be done is to remove the obstruction to the knowledge. For that you require chitta shuddhi, and then when knowledge comes, it will do its job, and then you are a jnani. It's
Okay.
actually fairly
And
simple.
one more. Okay, ma'am. One more question. How is this relevant when the death of the body happens? They say, "May the soul rest in peace." So how is this relevant here?
In English, they say, "May the soul rest in peace." In our culture, we don't say that. We
don't say that.
We say, Om Sadgati Praptirastu. May you have a better next life or a better destination. We say that.
Meeraji, I also wanted to ask the same question. In Hindi, we say uske Bhagwan unki atma ko shanti de. So galat hai na?
Yes.
That is
Meeraji, sorry, could you say
Yeah.
that sentence a little slowly? I couldn't catch it.
Om Sadgati Praptirastu. Sadgati means better destination or better path. Praptirastu. But when the jnani dies, you don't say Sadgati Praptirastu. You say
Rastu, Rastu is that?
Astu. Prapti Astu. When you join, it becomes Praptirastu.
Okay, thank you.
But when the jnani leaves the body at the Mahasamadhi time, then we say Om Shanti. That's all. So Om Shanti is the best, neutral. So you can say that.
Anyone going, you can say Om Shanti. He may not be a jnani, no?
Yeah, if you're not sure, then just say Om Shanti. That's the best.
So not Bhagwan ki atma ko shanti de.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, Ankita?
So
This will be the
Meeraji, I
last
had a
question,
question.
okay?
Yeah. So you said once you know that everything is mithya, so once we understand or once we realize that, sometimes I feel like I lose the interest in materialistic things or people around me, and society and family and other people like start judging us, like why she is behaving like this, or what can one do in this situation?
See, once you become a Vedanta student, you're going to be an outcast of society, and you just have to accept that. Okay, you're going to be weird in everyone else's eyes, and there's nothing that you can really do about that. But the benefit is that for yourself, you will be much more peaceful, much more positive, much more happy, and not troubled by whatever happens in the world.
Yeah, I don't like, we don't feel trouble, but like I feel like they are questioning, and what should I do now?
Whatever
How
has
to
to be
answer
done,
it.
whatever the situation demands that you do, that you have to do. But what other people think, that they may think you're weird, or they may think that, okay, she's this thing, eventually they'll get used to it. So don't bother about it.
Medhaji, I have one question.
Yeah.
I understand this example of tree with different leaves, etc. But Karana Shariram is an undifferentiated state. So is it like a conglomeration of so many different seeds? But how is it then undifferentiated? Because each one's karmas, in a sense, are attached to the undifferentiated, and one life is one person is created or one unit is created. So how does the individual karma attach to the undifferentiated state and then come out as a different tree? I'm talking more from the tree point of view rather from the different leaves, because they are individual trees now that we are talking about.
We are talking, limit the example to only one seed and one tree, and think of the different jivas or different individuals as the leaves on that tree. That will help you. If you bring in multiple seeds and multiple trees, there is no worldly example that we can use. It doesn't fit anymore. It won't make sense.
It doesn't fit. That's why I'm confused, because there's so many different jivas. So how does
No, that is why think of all the components of the tree as different parts of creation, and think of the seed of that one tree. One tree, one seed. So that tree may have fruits, it may have flowers, it may have leaves, and all of these are different things, right? But within the seed, you cannot make out any of those things. So limit the example to one seed, one tree, and it will make more sense. Don't bring other trees into this, then you'll get confused.
So we mistake the wood for the trees then? Okay, thank you.
All right. We'll stop now. It's time up. Okay. We'll end with the prayers. Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you, Mehtaji.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mehtaji. Thank you.
Thank you, Mehtaji.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.